Welcome to Medrash Rabbah on the Parsha. We're up to Parshas Balak. We're going to be discussing a Medrash. It's not directly connected to the Psukim, but it's like indirectly, which is that Bilam, when he came to the point basically where he realized he cannot curse the Jews out, rather bless them, so he started going to many different so to speak, riddle version of blessings on Am Yisrael. And the Medrash describes how he realized that basically God is with them, right? That's where the pasuk is, Hashem Elokav Imay, Hashem is God is with him. And the Medrash describes how one of the things that he realized is that what's unique about Am Yisrael is that even the slightest mitzvahs, the mitzvahs which are called mitzvahs kalos, the light mitzvahs, even those the Yidden hold on to very strongly, and that is what part of the picture of what keeps them so grounded and so connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Medrash goes on, sort of gets sidetracked with that, and goes into and goes to describe a statement. And this statement actually appears in the Gemara in Yuma, the Daf Pei Gimel and Beis. That the Gemara, there's a statement that goes as follows. The statement says, Mayim Rishonim Hechilu B'sar Chazer, that the first waters, in other words, what it's referring to is Netilas Yadayim before bread, or sometimes before vegetables, we'll see. So Netilas Yadayim before eating bread is what eventually led to feeding a Yid the flesh of a Chazer, of a pig. And Mayim Acharonim, the last waters, meaning the waters which we use after, which we wash our hands before we bench after the Suda, those Hargus and Nefesh, it killed a soul. So the Medrash says, what is that referring to? It's referring to two different stories, two different events that happened that actually bring out how connected Yidden were even to the slightest mitzvahs, and how it had such a major effect on their lives to the extent that it led to murder or to even crazy events. And the Medrash gives two different cases, two different stories. The first story had to do with that the Jews were in a situation of Shas Shmad. In other words, there was a decree against Torah and mitzvahs, so the Yidden had to sort of go into hiding and not make themselves known outwardly that they were Jews. So there was a story of, in that scenario, where there was a merchant, somebody who sold different goods, and he sold meat. So in his store, he sold meats, and what he did was, because he was actually a Jew in hiding, he had two different servings, two different foods that he sold. One was food of chazer, one was food of kosher flesh, kosher meat. And what he did was, he kept us separate, he cooked them separately, and whenever the Jews would come in, he would feed them the kosher stuff, and he would have the non-Jews, he would feed them the non-kosher stuff, and no one would know that actually they're both two different items. He made it look like it was all the same, etc., etc. Somehow he got away with it. So, how would he know if someone was a Jew? Because, and again, everyone was hiding. He would realize that basically the Jews, when they would walk in, they would wash their hands before the meal. I guess he had a restaurant, something like that kind of thing. They would feed bread as well. So he realized they would wash their hands. So that's how he knew. So one time, what happened? So a Jew came in, and he didn't wash his hands. So the owner of the restaurant thought that he must have been a goy. So therefore, he gave him chazer meat. That's what he gave him, and he ate, and he saw he didn't even bench. He didn't even make a blessing. Okay, so therefore, the owner didn't suspect he was a Jew at all. So when they came to paying the tab afterwards, what happened? So he came over to him. He wanted to pay for the bread and for the meat. And he told him, okay, you owe me, it costs 10 mana. 10 mana, let's say $10, right? So the client said, what do you mean? Yesterday you charged me only 8. Now you charge me 10? What's going on over here? So he says, what do you mean? I'm feeding you chazer. I'm feeding you pork. It's expensive. I guess then it was more expensive than regular meat. So when this undercover Jew who didn't wash his hands, realized what happened, it says, the way that the Medrash describes it, his hair stood up and he was terrified, he was mortified. So he told him in secret, he said, by the way, I am a Jew as well, and you gave me chazer meat. So the owner told him, he said, your spirit should be blown up. Why? He says, because when I saw you weren't washing your hands, and you didn't make a bracha, a blessing on your food, I thought you were a guy. So that explains the first saying of Chachamim, which is that the first waters, Mamin Shoinim, led someone to eating B'sar Chazer. So that shows one aspect of how serious the Jews took these mitzvahs, these slight mitzvahs, which is just washing their hands before, how connected they were to it, and they're even able to identify another Jew based on that. So that was one aspect. Now the second statement, the Medrash brings another story. And the second story goes as follows. There was a man that he ate different types of legumes. It was a dish of legumes. I'm not sure if it was a soup or something. And he didn't wash his hands after he finished eating. That was part of his meal, and he didn't wash his hands, which is the custom to eat after a meal. After a meal, you wash, the Jews wash ma'im achareinim. It's a chayva, it's even a chayva, it's a necessity. So what happened? He ended up, he didn't do it, and he went to the marketplace, and his hands were dirty from the bean soup, whatever it was. And his friend saw him. And what did his friend do? His friend went over to his wife, and he said, oh, by the way, your husband told me to tell you to give me the ring that you have in the house. And the sign he gave me was, he told me exactly what you guys ate. Apparently it wasn't, nobody knew what exactly they ate. Only her and her husband could have known. And therefore he used the fact that he saw that on his hands. He had the bean soup. He's able to know what he ate. So he said, oh no, your husband gave me a sign that you should be able to trust me. And the sign is, I knew exactly what you ate. It was the bean soup, etc., etc. So she didn't think much of it. She thought, okay, there's no way this guy could have known. My husband must have told him. So he gave her the beans. She gave him the ring. So when the husband came home, what happened? He asked the wife. I guess he was looking for he realized it was missing the ring. He asked, "Where's the ring?" So she told him, "What do you mean? This guy came home, your friend, and he gave me the signs to imply, that you told him to give. That you told him to tell me to give the ring, and I gave it to him." So what happened? The husband got very angry, to the extent that he lost it completely, and he killed her. He killed his own wife. So says the Medrash, therefore, anybody who doesn't wash his hands after the meal, it's like he's killing someone. I mean, in other words, look what it led to, in that scenario. Meaning, in other words, the Medrash is bringing this out to bring out that basically the Jews took these things on so strongly they were to identify certain things because of it, and how important they were in their life, integral they were in their lives. So, and Bilam was so he was so affected by this that this is part of what bothered him. And this is part of what sort of impressed him, to the extent that he included this in his blessings as well. So anyway, so this is just an important lesson to keep in mind about these small, minute mitzvahs that seem to be so insignificant, not to be overlooked. Just another reminder. Have a good day.